Hello, my name is Kitty Chisholm. I've been applying neuroscience to management development for the last 12 years, and I'm here today to talk to you about how the brain changes, brain plasticity, and what that means for you, for me, for us all. For many years, management gurus believed that great managers and leaders were born, not made. Recruiters for senior roles looked for evidence of certain types of personality and presence. Tests were designed to classify people according to different types. For example, integrator or explorer, who you were, who you had been, not who you could be. Underlying all this was the assumption that human brains don't really grow or change much in adulthood. Scientists used to think that people were born with certain capabilities and styles or developed them early, and that once set, these were fundamentally unchangeable. They were fixed. We now know different. Over the last 20 years or so, neuroscientists and psychologists have demonstrated beyond doubt that the human brain is changeable or plastic throughout life. Its wiring, chemistry, and even its structure are changed by experiences and learning. A large number of experimental studies have tracked changes in adults and seen that not only skills and capabilities, but beliefs, attitudes, and even personality traits change and develop. How does this work? Scientists have discovered that the brain is like a muscle, in that it literally grows the more it's used and grows more capable. The human brain has some 86 billion neurons, each capable of about 10,000 connections called synapses with other neurons. Neurons can send and receive information via transmission of electric and chemical signals between them. Connections are being made throughout our life with every significant input from our senses, thoughts, feelings, and reaction. Connections between neurons are strengthened through frequent use and reuse, so networks of neurons can form that will signal in particular patterns, and those patterns encode what we learn. Connections can also be weakened, even unmade, if we don't do anything with them over time. Using what we learn, practicing to improve performance in, for example, playing a musical instrument or speaking well in public, working hard to improve our performance reinforces those connections. The brain is the most energy-intensive part of our body. It uses between 20 and 25% of our energy for just 2% of our body weight. So naturally, it's geared to be as energy efficient as possible. That means that if the connections we make through learning and experience are not used for some time, they become weaker and can be entirely lost or pruned. Scientists have also discovered that the adult brain can produce new neurons, not many, but some, in a part of the brain, the hippocampus, that's very important for learning and memory. These neurons, like connections, survive if they're used, especially for difficult or challenging new tasks. A well-known example comes from London black cab drivers. They spend at least 2 years studying the knowledge, practicing driving around London streets at different times of day and night. They gain a knowledge not only of streets and landmarks, but also of the normal dynamic changes due to different uses at different times, like rush hour, and how best to respond to the unexpected too. That's challenging. London black cab drivers develop a bigger posterior hippocampus than most people, including other regular London drivers like bus drivers. 3 months after retirement, however, that part of the cab driver's brain associated with spatial memory has already started to shrink to a more normal size. What that tells us is that for the brain to stay strong and capable, it needs regular workouts or practice, and not just any repetitive practice, but practice with a purpose, with attention to learning and improving over time, with difficulties to overcome, with the right feedback, like an athlete, a musician, or a chess player. Use it or lose it is true. So what does that mean for us? First of all, that if we can change our brains, we can change our minds and ourselves in ways that enable us to meet our goals, whether they include driving a London black cab, mastering a P&L, learning to be a better listener, or becoming a better manager of yourself and others. Your brain changes all the time, but you can direct some of that change in ways that help you meet your life goals. A key ingredient is truly believing in this new superpower, that you can affect real, mental, and physical measurable change. That is known as having a growth mindset. Another ingredient is paying close attention to practicing chosen new behaviors, and yet another is getting good, timely feedback on how to improve. Researchers have consistently found that people with a growth mindset tend to be more persistent, more focused on learning and challenge, less thrown by setbacks, and so tend to perform better. What that means for us all is that we can change ourselves. We can adopt new habits that make us healthier, such as taking a daily walk. We can train ourselves to become more persistent when we encounter barriers, to think more creatively when we have a problem, to delegate to others who can challenge us and also help us, to adopt a coaching style. We can set goals and achieve them through continuous improvements, small steps in the right direction that rewire our brain. We can become more resilient as we learn how to learn from mistakes. We can become more sensitive to change in others too. In other words, we can improve our performance as managers of people. But remember, we can do a lot to improve ourselves, but we can't change everything. Environments and our genetic heritage play significant roles. Changing our mind can't cure cancer, for example, but it can help us take better decisions about our treatment. It can't turn me into a 6'9" basketball player, but being more persistent can help us maintain focus on an important task for longer. But our focus also depends on other factors too, such as our health or whether we feel hungry. Being realistic about what we can and can't change is necessary, and profound changes take time and effort. What that means for managers and leaders is that when they're managing change, they're managing brains. Leaders and managers with growth mindsets not only believe they can change themselves, they believe others can change themselves too and improve. And people tend to live up or down to expectations. So those people who work for leaders and managers with a growth mindset tend to do better. The key to that is encouragement towards continuous learning and practice with the right feedback, so people can understand how to improve and accurately target their progress. Our brain takes in information from its internal environment, the body, as well as from all of its external environment. And of external inputs, those from other people are most important. A human brain is an active editor and interpreter of what comes in, making choices, most often unconsciously and at high speed, about the meaning that it assigns to inputs. Your brain is more likely to pay attention to what people who are important to you do and say, how they behave to each other and to you, to the smallest gesture or glance, than from any policy document or glossy brochure. That means that it pays special attention to leaders and line managers. They matter, and your brain pays hyper attention to emotions from its own internal signals as well as from others. What that means for organizations is that their culture, their environment, how their managers behave, how that makes people feel, matters more than anyone might think. As a manager or leader, you help shape your work environment. High expectations benefit you, your direct reports, your colleagues, your organization. But expectations do need to be realistic an achievable stretch, not an unreal goal that can only lead to disappointment or guilt. So as a leader or manager, you can enable, coach, and support people to change, to perform better, to grow and develop, but not just by giving them a set of rules or orders. Role modeling the changes you want to see and creating high expectation environments that reinforce those behavior changes works with a grain of the brain. Thank you.